in this ad that's on the front page that says maybe it's time for baseball to investigate Congress. And it pointed out how many of the congressmen were caught up in ethical scandals, like the Democratic Congressman Jefferson, who had $95,000 of cold, hard cash in his freezer, or the Republican congressman from San Diego, who's now serving time for taking $4 million of military industrial complex special interest money. 2008 is an important time for us to begin. Let me show you how important it is. I'm going to ask Bill, how old are you, Bill? 68. Bill is 68 years of age. In the early 1970s, a guy by the name of Alvin Toffler wrote a book called Future Shock. And in that book, there's a great illustration where he was thinking about Bill. What he did was he discovered that the Earth has been around for 5 billion years, give or take a billion. And most people have trouble with billions. So what he did was he took the last 50,000 years of human existence and he divided into that 50,000 years the lifetime of Bill Woods. And what he discovered was that there are 800 lifetimes, one on top of the other, 800 lifetimes in the last 50,000 years. But here's an interesting thing. 650 of those lifetimes, Bill's lifetime, one other, 650 of them were lived in caves. Only in the last 4 lifetimes, Bill's lifetime, one other, has anyone measured time with any precision. And only in the last 2 lifetimes, Bill's lifetime and one other, has anyone used oil or an electric light bulb. And Toffler points out that 95% of everything created by human hands has been created in our lifetime. Most of our elected officials in Washington don't know that. Their focus is 1-year budgets and 2-year elections. Their focus is on how do we get reelected, and they don't realize the impact of human activity on our planet. It's no accident that we're struggling with the issue of global warming. Global warming has been impacted by our use not only of fossil fuel oil, but our misuse of non-renewable natural resources. It's no accident that here in this country, where we think of ourselves as an economic powerhouse in the world, we've got 9 million of our children who have no health care. We've got 47 million people currently without health care, and in the next 5 years, that number could be 80 million because of the fact that our health care system is broken. And I think people need to ask the question, how come Democrats, independents, and Republicans can't get their act together and fix the challenges that we face? Why is it that we've moved so badly in the wrong direction? How do we pull it back? At 10:30 this morning, I had an interview with your independent newspaper. And there was a question asked there as to what I think is the most important issue of our time. And I stumbled a little bit on that question, except that I tried to point out to the reporter that Senator Obama, Senator Clinton, and Senator McCain are riding a wave that was not created by them or by the political parties. They're riding a wave of anger, frustration, and not to be partisan, bitterness about where our nation has gone. They're riding a wave of Democrats and Republicans and independents who wonder why we can't work better together. They're riding a wave of interest in being hopeful about the future, but being nervous about the present. They're riding a wave of wondering not just about the higher oil prices and gas prices, but how much oil and gas do we have left on planet Earth? If India and China use oil to the same level that we are using it, and we accelerate the consumption of the remaining supplies of fossil fuel oil, even the most conservative estimates from conservative politicians give us only 100 to 200 years left of fossil fuel oil. What right do children born 200 years from now have to the natural resources that we are consuming? And we've got a nation that has created a wave of energy and enthusiasm. The good news about this wave that's out there is that people don't wear their political hats as strongly as most people think they do. We see it in the young people coming out to register and get excited. We see it with the women who are energized by the thought that there's a potential female candidate. We see it by those who respect Senator McCain as well. There's an energy that I think has two components. First component is people think it's possible in 2008 to get it straight. That's a theme of Common Cause. Let's get it straight in 2008. Let's have enough paper ballots in Ohio so we don't have the embarrassment of 2004. Let's celebrate the Secretary of State of Ohio as she is being actually celebrated by the Kennedy Library in Boston as with a Profiles in Courage Award, a John Kennedy Award, for decertifying voting machines that don't work. Let's recognize that average ordinary citizens need to feel when they go to vote, their vote counts. And if it's a close election, it can be in fact audited, that the machine works, and in a close election can be recounted. The fundamental component of democracy is that we should model it here, as opposed to thinking you can model democracy with a gun. And we want our election system to work. So our first theme at Common Cause is let's get it straight in 2008. And that's a big task. 65% of the machines used in Pennsylvania in this week's election could not be audited. 65% of the machines could be hacked into. Machines all over the country next November will have the potential of not giving us the accurate results that we all seek. So that's our first effort, is to get it straight in 2008. But an equally and perhaps more important effort is our second theme, and that is we need a fresh start for democracy. When I served in Congress, which I did for 12 years, important legislation like the Older Americans Act, Head Start, and the first energy bill in 1977, which had as a component a mandatory fuel efficiency policy and suggested that we should move to alternative energies back in 1977, was not put in place by liberal Democrats. It was put in place by Democrats, liberal and moderate, and moderate Republicans. Remember when we used to have Jake Javits and Senator Brooks and a whole host of moderate Republicans who, while serving their party, once elected, served the public interest. I joked with this reporter and told him that my mantra when I was General Secretary of the National Council of Churches was to address fear, fundamentalism, and Fox News with a commitment to peace, poverty, and planet Earth. I thought that the total responsibility of the faith community, now that we're in this great Episcopal cathedral, should be to end the poverty that kills, be responsible stewards of a fragile planet, and teach all the way down to our kindergarten classes conflict transformation and diplomacy, and be peacemakers. Because it's that crazy Jesus who said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God." And it's all of the faith traditions. In fact, in 20